All right. Well, my ring light died. That sucks, you guys. There's nothing worse for somebody with my level of vanity than to have her ring light die on her, and it died. So try not to be too disgusted. How you guys doing? How was your Thanksgiving? Guess what today is? Today is Hot Mess Monday, and guess what? I am Sugar Jones, your hot mess in residence. Happy Hot Mess Monday. Happy I just ate everything possible for the last 4 days. And today you start what? A new diet, right? No, you're just going to keep going through the end of the year. It's fine. It's 2020. We're all allowed to do that this year. Oh my gosh. All right. So, you guys, today I wanted to talk about getting older. And it's kind of apropos. One of my friends actually posted something today, Phaedra Nally. Happy birthday, Phaedra Nally. All things Phaedra. Absolutely love her. And she is one of my favorite people that I've ever met in my entire life. So one of the things that she said is how lucky we all were to be in social media to have met some of the people that we've met. And she's one of those people that I'm really excited to meet. I'm going to talk about humans later, but first, before I forget, before I start about aging, before I talk about humans and all that other good stuff, today is yeah. So what the heck? Sorry. Okay, thank you. You guys, seriously, this ring light thing is really throwing me off. Yes, Sugar Jones, Hot Mess Monday. Follow me on Instagram at Sugar Jones, on Twitter at Sugar Jones, and like my page at Hot Mess Monday. All right, cool. So aging. So we went to watch. Did any of you guys see the fight on Saturday night? Wheezy and I were watching the fight. My good friend Wheezy, and wow. First of all, there was some serious fights right before that, and I've never seen people dropped so quickly. It was kind of scary, kind of crazy, a lot hilarious. But anyway, so then we were watching the Tyson Jones fight. And as they were doing their interviews, first of all, I was just like, wait a minute, Mike Tyson's fighting. Isn't he like 70? No, he's like 51, 52 years old. So just barely a little tiny bit older than me. Just a little tiny bit. So that was, interesting. I'm like, would I be able to do a fight at my age? Would I be able? I mean, don't get me wrong. You come at me, I will cut a bitch. But would I be able to actually like go out into a ring and be punching and being punched for however long? I'm like, no, that's nothing I would sign up for. Then they started doing the interviews. And I was like, Tyson looks old because he is old, And then Jones came out and he looked old. And you guys, moobs. If you have moobs, maybe stop fighting. Maybe it's time to just hang up the gloves and keep them hung up. So there we were, and there was some commentary, and it was really funny. It was one guy said, I feel like I'm about to watch my two favorite uncles get in a fight at the family reunion, and I don't want either of them to get hurt. That was kind of the mood. But we were all watching, and everybody was cheering for Mike Tyson because he's the old favorite. Emphasis on old. So then, if you were watching the fight, you were watching two old guys go at it like two uncles at a barbecue who just needed to just sit down, have a couple beers, and talk about the old days. Who watched it? You guys, give me a like, give me a comment. Let me know if you watched the fight and what you thought about it. 1, 2, 3 words describing what you saw Saturday night. So while we were there, we were just cracking ourselves up, thinking about all the different sponsorships. First of all, Wheezy came up with the best line of the night. She was like, Betty White should be the ring girl for this one. It was definitely a fight to have the Golden Girls at. And then we just started kind of coming up with who would the sponsors be for this fight. And if you're just joining me, which I just saw you guys, I am Sugar Jones. This is Hot Mess Monday. Later, after I finish talking about the commentary of the fight, I'm going to be giving away this copy of Humans of New York. So stick around, watch, and I'll tell you how you can win this copy. All right. I'm going to talk about the humans in a little bit. So then we were talking about like maybe the sponsors could be Depends or Geritol or reverse mortgages or all kinds of good stuff. It was just really kind of sad And I started thinking about, how I'm always talking about how you're only as young as you act, and being 50, it feels like I'm a kid again. And it does in a lot of ways. But I would not get into a ring for a fight. I know they're going to make a ton of money. Make all the comments you want about it. That's a lot on an old body. So anyway, so we're sitting there fighting, and we were talking about like all the different things that you can do now that you're this age, and the stuff that's still kind of limiting because you're older. One of the things that, if you follow me, that I love skating. But I will tell you this, I'll go out for a 2, 3, no, 1 to 2 hour skate session now, not 3 hours anymore, 1 to 2 hour skate sessions. And I'll be smiling the entire time, super happy, super stoked, very, very happy to be on skates, be on wheels, and everything else. But for like 6 hours after, I'm walking like I need a cane or a walker. It's really hard on my body, especially when I fall. And if you are doing anything to improve how you're doing whatever sport it is that you're active in, you're going to fall. You're going to get hurt. You're going to push the limit to your muscles. And I do. Another thing that I do every day that's interesting and really hard to do is walk down the stairs. The first time down the stairs every single day. Anybody 45 and older that lives upstairs, that has stairs, apartment, in your house, whatever, the first time you go down the stairs for the day, how much does that hurt? It is so painful going down. Glucosamine chondroitin. That would be a great sponsor. I was actually thinking, thank you for saying that. I was actually thinking about buying some so that I could skate. So that I could recover from my skating better. How sad is that? Like, that's how old I am. But that would be another great sponsor for the fight. That would have been another good one. So yeah, the first time down the stairs hurts. The first time going back up the stairs hurts. Everything hurts. It doesn't mean you're not enjoying yourself, you're not doing cool stuff. It just means you're getting older. And then I'll think about, like, we're living in this age of J-Lo, right? Where J-Lo, oh my gosh, speaking of old, my mom's calling me. Anyway, sorry, mom. So we're living in this age of J-Lo, where J-Lo is just cranking out all these dance moves. I just snapped my finger and that hurt my wrist, you guys. That's how old I am. So J-Lo's cranking out these dance moves, and she's just like shaking her ass on her chair and just like, and that's great. Great. Now I'm like, all of us are like, yeah, we get to do this. We get to be J-Lo. We get to be like cool and hot and, you know, still kind of with it. And then you watch her dance and you're like, do I have to do that part? That looks painful. Or that looks like it might hurt. Or sometimes when she goes down and she'll throw her neck back, I'm like, ooh, my shoulders hurt just watching it. Great for J-Lo. She's making $1 million every 5 minutes, probably, just being her awesome self. I feel like sometimes I want to try and be that youthful and that young, and I can't. I'll go out and skate, and I'm like, I see some of these girls like turning and doing this and doing that. I'm like, if I turn too wrong and my leg or my knee doesn't go with me, I'm gonna need a brace. I'm gonna need an orthopedic surgeon. I'm gonna need a hip replacement if I fall too many more times. Like, it's hard. So I do my skating a little slower, a little flowier. None of these like quick turns, quick turns, quick turns. I'm like, I'm still skating. I'm still doing all the stuff. I'm just doing it at, 1.5 times speed, maybe 2 times. When you slow stuff down, that's what I'm doing. I'm gracefully skating, still turning, still doing all the good stuff, still attempting the downtown. But when you fall, if you're 30, and I have a story about 30, when you fall when you're 30, 20, 13, you get right back up. When you fall when you're 50, you just sit there and go, whew, that hurt. And you think about it a little bit, and then you like check out, make sure that everything's still in place, and you pop yourself up and you do this like really weird thing where your butt's in the air and put the brakes on, and then you can stand up. And you stand up slowly, and you kind of crack your back a little, and you do a little, and then you keep skating. Everybody else just pops up and keeps going. That hurt again. Jesus Christ. Anyway, Everybody else pops up and keeps going. That's a difference between 30 and 50. The other difference is the other day I went on a hike in my old neighborhood that I lived in my mid to late 20s and early 30s. I think we moved out of that neighborhood. How old was I? I was like 35, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, we lived in that neighborhood from like 28, 29 until I was about 35 years old. So around that time, I was doing the hikes that were behind my house back there. So I invited somebody to go on a hike with me, and I was kind of embarrassed because we've gone on a bunch of big, long hikes. And I was like, oh, this hike's going to be like a little baby hike. And I kept saying, hey, it's not that strenuous. It's just kind of a cool view and kind of a little thing to do on a Saturday. Whatever, no big deal. Then we start hiking, and then all of a sudden I'm like, uh, these climbs are a lot more challenging than they were 20 years ago. For some reason, could it be because I'm now no longer 32, 33, 34? That might be it. I am now 50. And as much as I know how old I am, sometimes I forget the limitations of being 50. And then, you go and you get a little Botox and the stuff doesn't wrinkle or whatever, and then it wears off and then it starts wrinkling again. And you're like, oh, I am old. And you're like, I got to make an appointment because now the boy at the grocery store thinks that I'm grumpy. I'm like, no, I'm just concentrating, but the Botox wore off. Sorry. So anyway, I go on this little 2-mile hike, actually turned into 3-mile loop because there were new trails put in. And I was trying to find this one thing, and then we went a different way and kind of got a little backtracked or whatever. So anyway, 3 miles, dying at the end, because the end, I parked us at this new trailhead. And so we had to make this huge steep climb at the end. I was winded. I got to my car and here's the one good thing about from then and now is like before I had an SUV and now I have a convertible. And that's the difference between 33 and 50 is now you get to have a car for yourself. You don't have to have a car for the family. Anyway, so get to the convertible, take the top down, and also turn the air conditioning on because that's how high I was from that last climb. I was dying. I was dying on this little tiny little hike that used to be so easy that I would do it every morning because it was behind the house. And now I could barely make it up. It was just, I wasn't dying the whole time in case anybody ever goes and sees that hike, but I was dying for a fair amount of it. So that was pretty hard. And then we watched the fight. And then I'm mocking these two guys that are pretty much my age who are out there beating each other up. I think we all just need to be like, you know what? And Phaedra said this very nicely today. She's 50. She just turned 50 today. She looks great, but there are differences. There are things that are changing. And if you want to follow her, she's on All Things Phaedra. But as I was reading her comments from today, I was just nodding my head. I was like, oh my God, yes. Your hair starts thinning. This happens, that happens. You look in the mirror and you're like, oh my God. And it's a little sad, but then also we do still have the wisdom of all this time and the experience of making so many mistakes. And one of the things that I have on my desk is bad decisions make good stories. Y'all, I have some good stories. I have some great stories because I have made a shit ton of bad decisions in my 50 years. Some are funny, some are tragic, but for the most part, I just have stories. So anyway, thought it was funny, thought it was something to talk about. And that kind of leads me into the stories that you'll find. And this is one of my favorite things, accounts to follow on Instagram and Facebook. It's Humans of New York. And so this came out, he put this out at the same time that he did an interview with Stephanie. If you guys know Stephanie, she's a gal that at one time was a beautiful stripper / dancer and made all kinds of money and lived a beautiful, glamorous life and is now in a wheelchair because she slipped and fell on her hip last winter. And it's tragic and that's sad. And she came out today from her surgery because of all the donations people have given her just for being an awesome person. And she had hip surgery. And so hopefully she'll be walking again really soon and pain-free. And that's awesome. But it really got me thinking, about how we have all these beautiful stories that we can tell all our lives. And if you've ever followed Humans of New York, every account is pictures, or every post is pictures of people telling parts of their stories. And I think about people all the time. I think that's the thing I love the most about social media, is just connecting, not necessarily just watching people have their beautiful, glamorous life and their perfect interiors of their homes. That doesn't make me super happy. What I love is listening to people's stories, Stephanie's stories, Phaedra's stories, a lot of your stories. My friend Daisy just went to Sedona for the first time ever over the weekend, and I'm so happy for her too. But all these stories of all these people, and I'm getting a little emotional now because we've all made bad decisions. We've all made good decisions, but we all have great stories. And that's what I love. That's what I love about life, is all humans and all their stories and all their failings. So anyway, here's another bad decision that's kind of turning into a good story. I accidentally ordered 2 of these. I ordered one for me, and I didn't know it at the time, but I ordered one for one of you guys. So here's what I'm doing. I'm giving away this beautiful fat book of nothing but stories of people who live in New York. This photographer, if you're not familiar, I don't know how you're not familiar, and we know each other, but this photographer goes around, takes pictures of people, asks them about their life, and then he'll put part of the story. I can't do this. I'd be a horrible teacher. Well, no, I think I'd be a great teacher, actually. I'd be a horrible librarian that tells the stories. And then he does the, little bits and pieces of their story. Stephanie, we got to read like her entire story, and it was amazing. And hopefully you can go back through Humans of New York timeline and read her story. It's amazing. It's a week-long series. But anyway, so the way that I'm giving it away, you guys, is you get to like all my stuff, because I am Don. Just, you know what? It's a free book. you get to have a free book just by liking my shit. So every like is an entry. Go like my Instagram or follow me on Instagram. Not every like, every follow or every subscription is an entry. So like my page, Hot Mess Monday. Follow me on Instagram, Sugar Jones. Subscribe to YouTube. I'll put the links all in here. Or follow me on Twitter. And honestly, if you're under a certain age, or if you are very conservative about the things that you talk about, don't follow me on Twitter. It will be good. But those are your different ways of entering. I'll put all the links to all my socials that I want you to sign up for, and each one of those is an entry. And that will be the entry to win the Humans of New York book. I'm not going to do it before Christmas. I want you to enjoy it. So it'll probably run through the end of December, because December is starting tomorrow. Starts tomorrow. Today is November 30th, full moon, full beaver moon. Make your jokes. And I just wanted to run a whole sweepstakes through the end of the year. So December 1st through December 31st, you can actually start today, November 30th. That's when everything's going to be running. Like my shit. You're entered to win for every time, everything that you subscribe, follow, or like. And then you'll get this beautiful book of humans and all their beautiful stories. And hopefully in the next year, in 2021, when we'll finally be out of this hellscape of a year, 2020, I'll be able to share some more stories with you of people that I know. Because as much as I've been thinking about it, I love telling my stories, but I know so many fascinating, amazing people, and I need you to know their stories too. So that's going to be what's happening in 2021. We're going to change up Hot Mess Monday a little bit and just talk about people's hot messes, how they got out of them, how they fixed their lives, how they turned their lives around, how they started over, because that's what a lot of us are going to be doing in the next few months. So there you go, guys. So that was my little chat today. Little off because this lighting thing is really bothering me. So if you're just now joining me, because it looks like a bunch of people are just now joining me, I talked about aging. I talked about that ridiculous fight, 2 old men. I talked about J-Lo making us all, dance. And even though we have like arthritic leanings at this point. And I talked about how you can win this beautiful book, Humans of New York. So go back and watch. And I will see you next week. I'll be talking to somebody about what to do if you have had one hell of a hot mess of a year, which pretty much it's everybody, and how you're going to be able to, what you can take from everything in your life all the good and bad decisions, turn it around, and make it a new life and start new, because nothing's ever going to be what it was before. We're all going to be starting in a new playing field starting next year, or starting whenever all of this stuff slows down and goes back to livable. I'm not going to say normal. Normal is never going to happen again for us. Normal is going to be very, very different. Not going to say what it's going to be, but we're all going to be in a different environment. And so hopefully we can take everything that we've learned our entire lives and use it to move forward, because even though we're old, we're not dead yet. All right, my friends, I will see you next week. Have a great week.